Hey everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Build AI Apps with Azure Database for PostgreSQL series. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our hosts and speakers to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over for our speakers for today. Thanks so much for joining.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Gwen. I have the honor of being your MC today. Before we bring on the speakers for today's session, just want to invite you all to go ahead and check out our entire series, 4 parts, lots of goodies in there, all things Postgres, AI, some Azure things. So you can scan that QR code and you'll get not only the links to the sessions themselves, but additional resources that we have for you. And it's always a great time to learn and to upskill. So be sure to check that out. I'll also share this in the chat, and then we'll have it up again at the end in case you missed it. And let's go ahead and kick off today's session. We have the awesome team, Rob and Swar from our Postgres extension team. Hey, how you doing, everyone? Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
And for those in the chat, feel free to drop any questions you've got. We'll try to address them during the stream or after. Maybe we need to follow up, whatever it is. So anyway, do we want to just do a quick round of intros, Swar? Let us know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Swarathwika, but I go by Swar. I'm a product manager on the Postgres team who is working on the VS Code extension.
And I'm Rob. I'm an engineer on the team working on the VS Code extension, doing a lot of the AI-powered Copilot functionality.
Awesome. Well, thank you, team, for being here. For those in the chat, let us know, have you tried the extension so far? What do you think of it? Any feedback would be awesome to hear. But yeah, let's go ahead and kick off today, on today's topic. And of course, any questions, let us know. So I think we can switch over screens now.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and bring up Swar. You're up first, right? Perfect.
Yep, I'm up first. Okay, so before we even get into it, I'm going to set a little bit of context. So before we even started building this extension, we wanted to see where developers are spending their time and what are they doing with their time, right? How are they managing and interacting with their databases? All the stuff that I'm showing you is from the Stack Overflow developer survey. And what we found out is that 73.6% of developers used VS Code last year and are going to continue using it in this upcoming year. We also found out that 41% of developers reported struggling with task switching, and 50% of their time was spent debugging and troubleshooting. So at a high level, what did that tell us? They're living in VS Code and they are struggling with, context switching and going between different environments and tools. And no shocker here, most of their time was spent debugging and troubleshooting. And that's what led us here, right? The same survey also showed that Postgres was a leading database for developers. VS Code continues to stand out as a popular IDE. So now by combining Postgres developer tools in VS Code, which is what this extension does, we want to help you with your productivity and streamline your workflows, right? Now you have a unified space to work for faster and hopefully for more focused development. This is an old screenshot actually from 2 days ago. I just checked this morning. We have over 125K installs and we hope to keep that going. Okay, and then before we even get into the live demos, I just wanted to share what the key features were at a very high level. So you can create a local Postgres Docker container with just a few clicks straight from the VS Code extension. You can connect to any server, and we have a couple different connection methods for that. And you can browse Azure easily from the extension if you are using that. You can auth into your database using Entra ID. If you're a visual learner, you can use a schema visualizer to see how your tables are related, and just have like a visual sense of your schema. You can run PSQL in your command line. It'll be connected to your database really easily. You can see your query history, and you can export in 3 ways: CSV, JSON, and Excel. We have a really good query editor, which is actually grounded in your database. So it has database aware IntelliSense. And then we have 2 kind of AI related features, one of them being chat with your database. So it's GitHub Copilot Ask Mode, where it's kind of more of the traditional, chat bot where you ask questions and it'll give you answers to it. And then you can go a step further and use GitHub Copilot in agent mode, where it's actually going to connect to your databases, run and execute queries, which we'll go ahead and show you in our live demo. And then right before we get started, I want to let you guys know that your feedback is super valuable to us. So if you've already used this, please do leave us feedback. It's what helps us improve our extensions, fix bugs, and make sure that we're prioritizing the right things, and we're prioritizing based on what our community wants. So I have a link to the repo. I'll put it here as well. We're pretty engaged, and we're trying to release on a monthly basis. So we are investing heavily in this. Okay. With that, let's get into the demo. I already have this extension downloaded, so you can see it's this elephant icon here on the side. And at a high level, you can see some of my connections, and you can see my query history here. So I'm just gonna go over kind of some of the options you have here. You can add a server group. It's important to stay organized. Whatever organization method you want to use, you could use this to kind of organize your databases. You can also connect to any server, and we have a couple different connection methods. You can use parameters, and here you can use password or Entra auth if you have that, and so you can auth in using your Entra ID. You could use connection strings, and then you can also browse Azure pretty easily from here. And this is something that a lot of developers have asked for, and that is to create a local Docker container. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to do using this extension. So I'm going to click here, say getting started. Sorry, my window is small, so bear with me. It's going to do a couple checks, check if Docker's installed, if it's running in the background. I'm going to say continue. I'll just name this my name. And create. And as you can see, it created my local Docker container here. Obviously, there's nothing in there. I haven't fed anything into it. But yeah, it was that simple and that easy. Now, I'm going to go to Azure Flex, which is just an Azure Flexible server. I already have some databases and samples loaded in here. So I'm going to actually just show you some of the core functionality at a high level today. I'm interested in looking at employees, for example. So I'm going to go here, go to my tables, and then I want to learn more about titles. So I'm going to go here, select top 1000. Okay, I just needed to wait a couple of minutes, I guess. Which one? Okay, let's just do title again. Let's hope that. Okay, it works. Anyways, you can see the query here that it ran for us, and then you can see the results here. You could actually organize it using this, or you can even organize it even more to a granular extent and say, I just want with the title engineer, hit apply, and you'll see that right here. And then I can also export really easily. I can save it as a CSV, save as a JSON, save as an Excel straight from the extension itself. And then also want to point out that our query editor is grounded in your data. So for example, if I was to do select, let's say title from employees, you can see that it actually lists out all of the tables that I'm connected to. So it is aware and grounded in your database. And then there's a couple other things that you could do from here as well. You can connect with PSQL directly. It'll open it up connected in the command line, which is quite amazing and easy. And then if you want to learn more about how your schema is done, you can visualize your schema here. and see how everything is connected. And you can even, if say the relationships have changed because you manipulated that, you could even refresh this, and then it will kind of refresh what's shown here. Let's look at something else. Maybe let's look at a database that we didn't play around with. Let's look at music stream. This is a good way to kind of learn more about your database before even getting started into it. And you can see how it's connected. For example, user is connected to a lot of these other tables. Okay, so now that I've gone over some of these basic functionalities, I'm going to hand it over to Rob, who's going to do the fun part of the demo and go over chat with this database and connect databases in agent mode.
Awesome. Thank you, Swar. So I'm going to kind of weave my way through some of the Copilot functionality that we have. And if you have questions or want to see what the Copilot might answer for any questions as I go, please put them in the chat. Let's do this together. So just at first, what I'm going to do is take a look at this query that I have here. This is a Postgres error query. It's kind of like what I'd call maybe something you'd see in a code base that's a legacy query. And we can do a lot of improvement on this. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to that same database that's Swire was on, and connect to the Postgres error database. If I needed to change the database, I could actually change it to some other database on that server, but this is the right one. And I can press Shift Enter to execute this. It gives me some count. I don't know what this count means. I don't know what this query means. It's hard to read. So let's actually ask for some help. So I'm going to look at this PostgreSQL Copilot explain query. So what this does, I absolutely want to allow that. It will use the @PGSQL chat participant to analyze the query using the context of the database. And it uses tools to understand the layout of the database. And now it can really understand like the query purpose, right? This counts how many passengers are booked on flights departing from Chicago airports only for passenger. Like this pretty complicated query, but it dives into the business logic. It gives me a query structure breakdown. So if this is something that I'm starting a task on and I need to like, refactor or own, this is a great way to start. I can get a really good understanding of what this query does and how it works with the database. But say I'm in a hurry and I wanted to rewrite it for clarity and performance. I can actually just go Copilot, hey, rewrite this query. Kind of do this for me. And so this is an Copilot ask mode. So importantly, GitHub Copilot has two modes, ask mode and agent mode. Agent mode can actually edit the file and do a lot of the same things that this @PGSQL chat participant can do. Ask mode is better if you want to ask questions, have a conversation without actually having the agents edit your code base. You're just like, I want to just talk things through. That's what that's great for. So it is now executing this optimized query performance analysis. So one very cool thing is that the extension, as it executes, as the Copilot executes queries against your database, those are all saved off to your query history. So you can see exactly what Copilot's doing. So let's just open this query and see that it's running. It's running an analysis on a rewritten version. So we can already see that this query is a lot easier to sort of understand, maintain, uses joins instead of, complex like subqueries and CTEs. So I'm going to close out that. Don't save. Yeah. And then so at the end of the day, it gives me a complete performance analysis. Right. So the original, it did two versions of optimize. That's really interesting. Saving 1 millisecond, giving better readability. So I really like that. But we saved 20x faster performance just by right-clicking, right? So this is something that you can really use to dig in and understand why the LLM is doing what it's doing and give it get good explanations. What you can also do is use agent mode to actually work with your code bases and work with your database directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this out, X out of this, go back to our databases and look at, I just created this blank database. See, there's no tables, there's no cards in the sleeves. And so we'll just create a schema. We'll just design a schema on the fly. And I literally haven't really thought this through. So I'm going to just think of something on the fly. So I'm going to connect to this database in agent mode. So in agent mode, right now it's the GitHub Copilot agents that can use tools that our extension gives it to, for instance, connect to a server. And now it's waiting to say, okay, what do you want to do? So I'm going to say design a schema in this database that is, I don't know, what's a good example of maybe a schema that we can design? How about inventory? That is for an app I'm building for inventory management. Write the schema to the database and then visualize it. Right. So now the agent mode gets to work. It checks the schemas. It's going to see that it's empty, and now is designing. I'm going to close out this. So it's already telling me kind of its thoughts around tables for products, categories, suppliers, warehouses, inventory tracking, and transaction. I gave it a kind of maybe a little bit of a complex application to go design.
While we wait for it to work, there is a question here, and it says, any plans on adding support for visualizing the query plan?
Yes, there is a feature that is on the roadmap for actually visualizing the query plan. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go, Anson.
So what this does, and I want to pause here and kind of explain through this. So this fetching all schemas tool is just called because I've previously indicated for this tool call, just always allow the agents to do this. It's totally fine. It's not going to be I don't need to review it. However, for the modified database tool call, I don't say, hey, use this whenever you want, just to be a little safe. I've never seen an instance of it trying to do something it shouldn't. But so what I like to do is that you can say continue for each tool call to kind of approve, and see more and actually see exactly what it is about to execute. Which is substantial. But then because I'm in a development session, I'm just doing schema migration or schema creation on a empty database. I'm just gonna say allow in this session, which means in this chat session, it can modify the database at will. So I'm gonna say, yeah, go ahead. Now it's even, I didn't even ask it, but it's adding some sample data to make the schema more meaningful. Which is really good. It's a great use of the agent mode to sort of understand the database schema and then derive test rows that you can insert into the database and use for testing infrastructure, all those things. Great. Well, let's see what it came up with. So we have this inventory table that relates to products, that has different product categories. We have suppliers. This is a solid start. So what I'd usually do is, if this is the start of it, I go ahead and review this and then ask it to make updates. So let's say for product, It has a bunch of fields, and I can, interact with the agent to sort of add fields as I see. So I can say like add a color field to the products table. And so as I'm doing schema design, this view will actually update the view automatically as I manipulate it. So you can, it's a lot easier to do sort of like iterative schema development. And so what you can do from here, if you're doing sort of data modeling, database driven development, I could, switch over to code now and say, okay, this is great, and create a models.py file that contains Pydantic 2 models of these tables. And so it'll now use the context that it has with the database and go ahead and just like write code for me. And this can work with like different ORMs. So if I'm working in Python, I want to use SQL Alchemy, I can have it actually build all of that out. And then when I update the schema, it'll, I might need to direct it to be like, also update the ORM, but usually it knows to do this, or it can run tests and run linters and kind of see if there's any issues. And it'll update everywhere that you want. So it makes iterative design and implementation, especially like early prototype implementation, super fast. So you can, instead of just like thinking about it on a whiteboard, you can go ahead and code it up, see how it works, and yeah. So we'll just wait here. Cool. So we've got some Pydantic models for the inventory management system. Very cool. I like how it's using the string enum. That's great. So, and this is where, if you have particular preferences, say I like, things to be organized as like string or none, you can put those into a Copilot, and now my Copilot next edit is just saying, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll update that all for you, just right now. But in the Copilot instructions, in your .github folder in your repository, you can put specific instructions to say, hey, always use Pydantic 2. When I say Pydantic, always use string or none instead of optional type. You can, say things about how you want database types to be laid out. It's a really good place to sort of put, per workspace, the rules that you want to follow. Always run this script whenever you make changes to test it, things like that. Cool. Any questions so far that we can chat through?
I have my own question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great.
Have you played around with like selecting different models and
Yes.
and have you seen better? I'm assuming you've seen better results from Claude just because that's the one you have selected.
Yeah, Claude 4 is really good. It's really good at iterating and trying to solve the entire problem. With agentic coding, I find it's better to sort of try to piecemeal the problem and say, hey, go do this chunk of it, go do this chunk of it, or even say, write me a design document that thinks step by step what the development tasks are, and then, okay, go do this, go do this. But still, even if you chunk it out like that, there still could be a lot of things to go look at, a lot of things to think about, go and change. And Claude, Sonnet, and I've tried Sonnet 4, is the best I've seen at like continuing to iterate and continuing to like try to look at the entire problem and solve it most completely. It's slower than like GPT-4.1. Also, it's a premium model, so there's like a specific amount that you can use it. And I do chunk through that that quota pretty quickly. So I'll switch back to 4.1 generally, which is more scoped. You have to be more explicit about what you want it to do. It still is very good. You just may have to say more things, and it might kind of do things that you iterate with it to sort of correct. And all of these models don't nail it the first time. I mean, if you ask a specific enough questions, they do. But you're always, it's a very iterative process, I find.
Cool.
And then the other models I haven't used so much. O4 Mini's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Sonnet 4, but it is, a little less for the quota, and it's slower. But I'll use that every once in a while. I've tried Gemini 2.5 Pro. I don't know where that slots into my toolbox yet, actually. But
cool.
I would suggest and they keep on coming out with more, just try them all. Things are changing so fast. Just experiment and really I feel like I learn something completely new every day. So
there is a question.
Yep.
About so is there an MCP server running for Postgres and connected to Copilot, or is it the extension doing all the stuff connecting to the database, etc.?
That's a great question. So with our agent mode implementation, there were sort of two routes we could go. There's the MCP route, and then there's Visual Studio Code exposes an API to extensions. And as part of that, it has an API called the Language Model Tool, which is really very MCP-like, but you're defining the tools in a different way. And it has tighter integration with the extension. So my ability to say, hey, visualize this schema and pop up that window and actually do the visualization is not something that MCP servers can currently do. There's also a lot of context within the extension and functionality within the extension that it would be a lot more difficult to integrate with if we did an MCP server. So we went with Language Model Tool for tighter integration with VS Code. However, I think there's, we're planning on also offering an MCP server. There's, resource models and prompts that can be offered with the MCP servers. And I think that there's a lot of value to also implementing MCP. So I think it's, best of both worlds. But currently, this is not an MCP server. It's a Language Model Tool API implementation. Cool. All right. And then so another thing that I thought we could do is go ahead and look at this AdventureWorks database in agent mode. So if I go ahead and visualize this schema, this is the AdventureWorks sample database that MS SQL uses, got a version into Postgres. And it's huge. It's such an enormous database. So I like to sort of poke around at it with agent mode because I still don't really understand everything about it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this connect database in agent mode again. Oh, and by the way, it's worth mentioning that even agent mode queries also get saved to the query history, so you can also review them there. You can see this is where we added the color field, and it gives a nice description and everything.
Can you configure, or is what's the limit of the queries that will be saved, or how does that work?
That's a good question. I think it's a rolling window of 20.
Okay,
but somebody's gonna have to keep me honest there. I don't know that
maybe someone in the chat.
Somebody in the chat. Is it 20? I remember that constant somewhere. Cool. Oh, by the way, I haven't hit keep. Always hit keep. Don't forget to, because sometimes things can happen and it ends up reverting. So just be careful. Use git when you're working with agents, because they might go and do something that you didn't want, and you always need to be able to refer back to previous changes. Okay, cool. So I didn't clear the chat, but that's okay. Actually, I just for cleanliness, I'm just going to do that. And then instead of doing that right click, I can just say connect to AdventureWorks on my Azure Flex server, and give me a brief description of what this database holds. And we'll start our exploration there. So here it's listing the server connections, finding my server, and then connecting to the AdventureWorks database. Oop. Right, so it connected to the Postgres Air because that's my default database, and now it's kind of seeing, okay, great, let me actually connect to the AdventureWorks. So here it's fetching all the schemas, all the schema information. It can fetch individual like database types, like just tables, just column, or just indexes, things like that. So, but it's fetching all to get a clear picture. That's quite comprehensive. Nice. So it might be kind of looking into this for a bit. And this is like the type of, completeness that I was talking about with Claude Sonnet 4. It's really kind of like taking its time to get a complete view. So we see it represents a fictional bicycle manufacturing company called AdventureWorks. So just immediately I get, information about the actual layout of the database, information about the business scope. So 123 million in revenue over a 4-year period. Actually, in the VS Code live stream, I converted the XML columns to JSONB, so that's why there's both XML and JSONB formats. It's still the same database from that live stream a few weeks ago. Yeah, and great. So one thing that I'm interested in learning more about in this database is its manufacturing capabilities. Like how does this database track product manufacturing?
Well, it works through this. Someone asked, is this going to be the same logic for SSMS or cloud databases? And just to kind of clarify, you're working on a hosted database right now, right?
I am working against an Azure flexible Postgres server, yes.
Yeah, and then they were asking, or will we need another extension? So the answer would be no, because this extension is capable of working with local. We saw one that was on Docker earlier. Swar showed that. You have one that's in Azure. So it's one extension for it all.
Totally. And then the mention of SSMS, which is SQL Server Management Studio. Mm-hmm. This extension works specifically against Postgres. It can be an Azure Postgres instance. It can be any Postgres instance. SSMS is specifically for MS SQL Server. Mm-hmm. So actually SQL Server has a similar extension that you can go and install. It actually shares a lot of the same code under the covers and UI elements. And they're also building out Copilot functionality. So, but for this extension particularly, it's Postgres. Cool. So tracks product manufacturing. This is getting into some pretty domain specific stuff. Work order management, detailed manufacturer routing, manufacturing locations. Cool. Transaction trail. Wow. A bunch of work orders, bunch of purchase orders, a bunch of sales orders. And so it's really giving me, not just the information that I kind of asked for. It's like, okay, let me help you understand it by breaking down a manufacturing flow example, which is really, really awesome. Cool. Are there any questions that people would like to ask this database sort of like real time, we can kind of collaboratively chat with the AdventureWorks database. Otherwise, I'm going to keep pulling on this thread.
There is a question about index turning or query turning. Maybe that's something to explore.
Sure. What was the question?
How can you do index and query turning?
Index and query turning?
Oh, I'm assuming they mean tuning. Right?
Oh, tuning.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay. Yes. So great question. Let's go through an example of this. This is something that I do when I'm about to demo. So a little bit of like behind the scenes, but I'm going to say, based on my, the focus area that I was working on, right? So product manufacturing. What's an example of a query that we could run that is complex about product manufacturing? That is most likely able to be optimized for performance via additional index creation. So I'm actually asking the Copilot to give me the question that I'm about to ask it. Where it knows that it has a solution. But that you can imagine you're bringing your own query to this to the database and actually want to tune it. So let's see what it comes up with.
And your first example, you did some query optimization. Yeah. So
totally, yep. So we can actually go ahead and see what it ran. Manufacturing risk analysis, cool. Complex manufacturing analysis combining bill of material complexity, cost variance, inventory risk, and recent activity. So this is doing a CTE. I mean, that's a complex query. Interesting. Let's see where it is at. It's currently running the query performance. I'm just going to go ahead and run this and I want to see the results. Interestingly, I'm not sure that it has any results. So that is no results found. Okay, if it keeps going in this direction, this is where I'd ask it like, hey, can you create one that actually has some results? We'll see what it does with this.
Someone said a sample query, most popular bikes in different states that were sold. So what if we create that query and ask it to make it like inefficient, and then we ask it to make it efficient?
Love it. Love it. All right. Let me cancel out of that. Don't save. Cancel this too. Okay, so forget that. Let's do another one. What was it?
Most popular bikes per state, I guess. Most popular bikes sold per state.
Per state. Write a query that will fetch that information, but do so in an inefficient way. Write a query that uses multiple subqueries, lacks proper indexing strategies, and performs unnecessary operations. Maybe that was a bridge too far. I don't need it to like select one in a million loop iteration loop or anything.
Oh, someone asked, does the extension work with encrypted databases?
That's a good question. I would believe so, as long as the encryption is handled all server side. If you are able to connect, for example, if you're able to connect to the database with pSQL, or like, if there's like entry authentication, we handle that aspect of it. But if you're able to connect to it with other Postgres tooling, then the extension should work with it.
Got it.
I don't know about that specific feature though. Even more inefficient. Okay. I'm so curious. All right. So this has an inefficient. So this is one of the things with the agent mode in general. It's like it really, tried to do the task. So we could have just had like one or two things that were inefficient, but
it likes to work like a lot.
Likes to work. Yes. Yeah. If you don't constrain it, it's going to, I'm dealing with that right now, where it created a lot of like documentation and code for me. And now I have like thousands of lines of code to review. And I'm like, oh boy, I should have scoped it down a little bit. Scalar subqueries, repeated table scans, correlated subqueries. I'm actually going to just like ask it to refactor that a little bit. Let's tone it down a bit. Focus on just a single inefficiency. I can't spell. That is related to indexing. And then I'm just going to ask it to write it to bike query.sql, just so I can stop opening up the query history. It likes to work. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I feel, if you said it correctly. You kind of have to like constrain it, or else it'll just keep going.
Even this is like, I am going to give you a full comment. Cool. All right, let me execute this. Oh yeah. Let me connect the query editor. This is to do AdventureWorks. Great. All right, so we have, I mean, that was pretty quick. I guess there's a limit. Is there a limit on it?
Mm-hmm.
Even that's quick. But it can be faster. So, okay, now, okay, let me actually just remove some of this like explanation stuff and say, just so it's, I'm just going to even delete out this. Great. And then start a new conversation. Keep and continue. Got to remember to hit keep. Great. Now that the sort of memory of the chat is erased, I need to let it know that it has a connection. So I'm just going to like reconnect to the AdventureWorks database in agent mode. And then now here's where I could say, go ahead and optimize this and create any indexes that you think will help. But in this case, I might be like, do a performance analysis on this query. Are there any indexes that could help that don't already exist?
It's a good one because someone did ask, can it suggest indexes or performance tuning? So I'm going to tackle that right now.
Totally.
When you do, because at the beginning you did right click, right? And then you had the option to do, I think you did right click on the query, right? And you had the option to like
this one.
Yes. These explain, rewrite, analyze, query performance. Are those are all in ask mode?
Those are all in ask mode. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you can actually switch to agent mode mid-thread so that the information from ask mode can be relevant to edits that you want to make. Actually, that's a good way to leverage some of the additional models that are available in ask mode. So not every model is available in agent mode. Like Claude Sonnet 4 is available in agent mode, but Claude Opus 4 is not. And I haven't switched to ask mode mid chat, so I'm not going to do that just in case there's something weird with that. But I can show, and then so if you wanted to do a strategy of like planning the work with Claude Opus or GPT-03,
and then
go and implement it. Yep,
that's cool.
Yeah, switch it over.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then because the Opus would be like a reasoning model, right? Better at planning, better at deep thinking, but then you would go with one that's better for executing. Yeah, that's a good tip there.
Let's see. Performance analysis part. Based on explain analyze, I've identified several performance bottlenecks and index opportunities. So there's sequential scans, missing foreign key indexes, filter selectivity. Great. Recommended indexes. So it looks like it is now just executing the create indexes, and this is an example of where I had go ahead and modify my database, and it's just creating the indexes. So if I don't explicitly say, hey, don't modify the database, just like give me a script so that I can review it, it might get, they're eager to do the work, right? They like to work, so it's just going ahead and applying the indexes and then doing the explain analyze. Now, if I just had like not said go ahead and allow this this modify tool, it would have asked me for confirmation on each of those.
Someone did ask, any concern about data security or governance? Might be a good moment to just chat about security stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So the agents only have the type of access that the user has, or the user's given it with like setting up the database connection. So the real sort of like, I think, concern is when the agent kind of can do modifications to the database. And what happens if it does something that you either like didn't want or like didn't notice, and now it's could provide could be interesting from a security standpoint. I think that's interesting. It's all running locally on your computer, like Copilot. It operates the same as other sort of Copilot extensions. So as long as your permissions and your permissions are set right, and you're being careful about allowing it to modify the database, that's sort of the practices that we have in place to sort of prevent those types of issues. Great. So now we reduced the total query cost by 80%. And so here it lists all of the indexes that it created. And so I want this to be sort of repeatable. So create a script at the root of the workspace that will create the indexes so that I can check in the code. Also, just kind of review it right now. So yeah, it talked about other it did the indexing specific optimization. Also kind of talked about, hey, there's other optimization opportunities if we wanted to go and chase those down as well.
And just to add on to what you were talking about, like the security and governance thing, yeah, Copilot it's not going to take your data and train the LLMs. I see someone else kind of followed up on
I see.
How can I, where's that question? Can I restrict that my context would not be shared by LLM to others? And that's not going to happen here. I think the biggest thing to worry about is if you're allowing the agent to make modifications, then the power's still in your hands. Like you have to hit like continue or whatever, or it says approve. I can't remember what the button says. Yeah, but in terms of it being shared to other Copilot users, that's not going to happen. And then someone also did ask about how can I apply my company templates and standards. That does kind of like double up on what you were talking about, having like Copilot instructions where you can add your own guidelines. You can, like you were saying, like, oh, always use Pydantic v2. So that'd be a great place to explore on, and it's Markdown, right? So it's a great place for you to go and add in your templates and standards there too. I will find a custom instructions doc and send it in the chat shortly.
Awesome. And then I was thinking about the visualization of the query plan. I've been using agent mode to create diagrams recently a lot. Like it's pretty good at it. And so let's see what it would do. I like really don't know how this is going to work, but like write a .d2 diagram in the root of the workspace that visualizes the query plan for and let me just close this for this query. And we'll see if it actually does kind of gives us visualization for free. This is really useful when you're like thinking through like UML or like architecture. If you want to visualize things about the database that are sort of beyond our interactive visualization, there's a D2 extension that allows you to sort of show a preview of D2 diagrams. Also, mermaid diagrams are another sort of code driven diagramming tool, and would encourage you to go check those out. Let's see how it does. And just like while that's chewing on that, in this code base, I've also created a fast API for AdventureWorks. It built me a front end that's a React front end that has a dashboard for AdventureWorks. It was pretty straightforward. So this is a really good example of like you have the database, but now you can add all of the code layers, the back end and the front end, and agent mode can help you navigate all of that. If you're mostly used to databases, you can start building pretty good looking front ends to visualize data and you can see the types of queries that that it wrote for these endpoints just by having the full database context. All right, let's see about this diagram. So I'm going to show D2 preview. Ugh. All right, well, let's see if I can get it to fix it quickly. I'm getting errors. Oop. Sorry. Wrong buttons. And now my screen is full. So there I like forgot to, I didn't paste in the error, so I just had to stop it, and they can kind of see from the conversation what happened. Cool. Let's see if we can do it. Oh, all right. Well, unfortunately, it looks like this is this sometimes happens. It takes like a couple iterations to get the diagram right because it kind of doesn't do the exact syntax. But if you just keep pasting in the errors, this is like an agent mode technique. Like say, like, okay, thanks for building that. Here's the errors I see. Keep iterating on it. It'll eventually work. But I think we're coming up on time, and I don't want to bug this too much.
Yeah, we can switch to my screen. I have some resources to share, and then maybe we can grab one. Let me take a look at. We have any questions here? Someone asks, code looks open to SQL injections. Is it possible to make it more protected? I'm assuming that's just like a prompt you could send to Copilot against the data and improve and work on that, right?
Yeah, if there's, I mean, it depends on what you're asking it to build. If the model, like the model's not going to invent its own SQL injection. If there was some like actor that was able to have, yeah, I'm not sure where the SQL injection attack would like have a surface to get in, but I mean, it's an interesting point. If you have ideas on that and potential ways we can, make it more secure, please open up a GitHub issue. Our GitHub is a great place to have like discussions and open up issues if you're having problem, and we're pretty responsive on there. So we'll try to address it there.
Yeah. But from like the query perspective, you could select the query and be like, how to make sure this is least prone to like.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it can help. Work with that.
Identify those and work through that. Awesome. Yeah. So we'll make sure to drop all the links in the chat. We have a couple more sessions still. We have the one on the 15th, build your own AI Copilot for financial apps with PostgreSQL. And then we have one on the 17th, build advanced AI agents with PostgreSQL. So make sure to check out that link at the bottom right, and then you'll be able to get links for everything there. And I think that's and then you can scan this QR code also to take you straight to the series page. And I think that is all we've got. Oh, we have one more. If you have any questions outside of asking them here, we do have a Discord. Feel free to come to the Discord, ask questions. The whole team's there, and then there's many more people that can answer questions there. So be sure to check that out. And finally, I think this is okay. There we go. Thank you, Rob Swart. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Everyone in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out today. Reactor team, thanks for hosting us. This was awesome. Please go and get hands-on with the extension and let us know any feedback that you've got. That's it from us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us on. Cheers.
Thank you all for joining, and thank you to our speakers. This session is a part of a series. To register for future shows and watch past episodes on demand, you can follow the link on the screen or in the chat. We're always looking to improve our sessions and your experience. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear what you have to say. You can find that link on the screen or in the chat. We'll see you at the next one.